Oh yeah, that'll do it. What's up, guys? Today we're gonna get the Christmas brisket ready to go. Gonna slice it up, season it, and get it ready. We'll go on the grill tonight about 10 o'clock, ready for dinner for the fam tomorrow, Christmas Eve. This is the eve of Christmas Eve and the 12 meats of Christmas, Christmas brisket. All right, guys, so for the Christmas brisket, we got our whole packer brisket, which is the flat and the point. Before we open this up, what I like to do is make sure I got a good, big cutting surface that's not gonna slip around. Nice big cutting surface. If I start cutting on this, then it's gonna go everywhere. What I like to do is use one of these baking sheets, these silicone baking sheets. There's kind of a textured side and a smooth side. The smooth side is really grippy. I'll put that bad boy down. I can't move that if I tried. Put my cutting surface over that. I can cut on this all day long. We're good. All right, so here it is, getting out of the package. Okay, you can see here, we've got our flat portion, a little bit of fat. We'll trim that up. We flip this bad boy over. Here's our fat cap, here's our point. We want a good geometry on this thing, and we'll trim it up, but I had originally bought a prime, but I didn't like the shape of it. It was really super thin down on the back end of the flat, and the tip was just huge. It was, I want to say it was like 6.5 inches, 7 inches. But there's a joke in there somewhere, I'm sure. But I ended up going somewhere else, and I picked up a choice cut. It had better geometry, so that's what we're going to go with here. So we're going to trim this guy up. We'll start on the underside first. Right, just want to peel this away, and the reason we want to get this fat away is because we want our seasoning to get into the meat. This fat will keep it from getting into the meat. All right, we got most of the fat and the silver skin trimmed off of the flat side and the underside of this. Let's flip it over and we'll trim this side up. This is the fat cap. What we want to do is take it and leave about just a 1/4 inch of fat on the entire thing. We also want to kind of trim up the geometry. You want it to be nice and uniform shape so that the smoke circulates evenly around it. It does play a role, but let's get this going. Well, guys, there's an old saying, there's nothing like a sharp knife. And I'll tell you what, this is nothing like a sharp knife. I've been sharpening and sharpening and sharpening, man, I can't get the angle right. So I'm breaking out these bad boys. I won them at a waterfowl auction. Brand new, never used, been hiding in the closet. Let's see how they do. All right, so trimmed up, shaved off the fat to about a 1/4 inch on the cap side, and we actually ended up trimming up the edges. We want a nice uniform shape.
The Christmas brisket.
Christmas brisket? When's it gonna be ready?
You guys, it's not gonna be ready for a while.
A
all right?
while?
And it's gonna be about 16 hours, maybe 17 hours. With the rest, maybe 18, I don't know. It'll be ready by tomorrow when the family gets here for Christmas and New Year's Eve, for Christmas Eve. Anyhow, so what I ended up doing with these trimmings was I got them saved up in a bowl. Man, we'll pay like $1.50, $2 a pound for fat over at the butcher, but we've got it over here. We don't have to pay extra for it. We just got to work a little bit for it. I'm going to vacuum seal this and put it in the freezer when we go to make some beef sausage, some beef dogs. we'll grind this up with it. So this is going to be used. We're going to get this thing seasoned up over in the smoker tonight at about 10 o'clock. So to season this bad boy, what I like to do is keep it simple. Salt and pepper, and for my beef, I like to throw in a little bit of ground celery seed. All right, so about a cup of pepper, about a cup of salt, coarse. You want that to be coarse. And about a quarter cup of fresh ground celery seed. So once I get this all over the fat side, the fat cap side, I'm just gonna take and pat it in. I don't really wanna rub it. I'm just gonna pat it in. Okay. This is a big piece of meat. And this salt and these seasonings are gonna go a long way to getting this tenderized and getting in there. Don't be afraid to put it on the edge. I've seen some videos where people say they only put the rub on the fat side, on the fat cap. I'm gonna go ahead and flip this bad boy over and I'm gonna season the flat, the underside. I'm a firm believer that you season the meat. I mean, that's why we trim the fat off of it, to get our rub in there. All right, so we got our peach paper out. What we're gonna do is we're gonna transfer this piece of meat over to the peach paper, and I wanna leave the fat cap up. We're gonna wrap it up and let it sit for a little while until it's ready to go on the smoker. That'll be tonight at about 10 o'clock. We'll take it out of the wrap, we'll put it on the smoker just like it is, smoke it for about 8 hours till it gets to 165 internal. By then, it'll reach that stall phase, so we'll pull it off, wrap it in more peach paper, and put it back in until it reaches about 202 is the magic number, but at that point, it's more about feel than temperature. All right, so what we ended up doing was dry brining. Now there's a couple different ways to brine your brisket, or you don't have to brine it at all. There's wet brining, there's dry brining. Some people dry brine overnight. Some people just put their rub on with no salt, a couple, right before their meat goes in the smoker. We're dry brining this. We're gonna give it a couple hours before it goes on to let that salt really dissolve and get into the meat. What that does is it helps to lock in the moisture in the meat. The salt will actually break down the protein structures a little bit and soften everything up, but it'll also give more flavor deeper into the meat. We got a big cut of meat, man, and it's gonna take everything that dry brine has got to get that deep into the meat. So when we slice it all the way through the pieces, there's great flavor. If you watch my last couple videos, you know that I roll with a pellet smoker. It wasn't always that way. I had a stick burner, a wood burner for probably 15 years. My wife got me one with an offset firebox. It was a new Braunfeld's. Man, I loved that thing. The firebox finally, just after 15, 16 years, the bottom dropped out of it. Did my first prime rib on it, did my first 4 briskets on it, and I killed those briskets, man. I was doing everything wrong. But did a Christmas ham, just double smoked a Christmas ham about 2 years ago, and that was the last meat we did on it, and the bottom rusted out. After we had everything inside, it was gone. Coals were on the ground. Anyhow, I roll with the pitmaster right now. All right, it's about 4:30 in the morning. This thing checks out right at about 165. We're gonna pull it, take it in the house, wrap it up. Let's check it out. All right, so we're gonna take this nice, juicy looking, well-barked brisket that's been smoking overnight. It's got about to the 165 degree temperature. It's gonna sit there for a little bit unless we do something with it. I'm gonna wrap it in this beautiful paper, beautiful peachy paper. Cap side up. All right, back in we go. Hey boys, let's go check that brisket. All right, it's been on overnight.
Oh.
Here we go.
Oh.
All right, we're sitting at about 195 right now. I just probed it. It's almost there. Yeah, a little more. Not really what I want to see yet, but it'll get there. A little more time. All right, looks like we're sitting at about 201. I don't know if you can see that, a little dirty, but let's check this out. There it is. I'm gonna probe this bad boy. That is tender, tender. And it's going right in. All right, so the Christmas brisket. We're sitting at about 202 right now. About ready to get this bad boy off. We're gonna take it off, get it in the cooler where it's gonna sit. It's not gonna be cool, but it'll be insulated. We're gonna let this sit for about an hour, maybe a little bit more until all of our guests show up. Oh man. There it is. Okay. Lid me. Christmas brisket. And then I realized we need a side sauce. Man, we got brisket. We need a sauce to put on the side. So I'm gonna whip up something real quick with some onions, some butter, some garlic, some chili sauce, tomato base. We're gonna do a little bit of ketchup and a little bit of maple syrup. I've got some other seasonings going in there, some ground mustard, brown sugar, blah, 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 blah. It's my barbecue sauce on the side. All right, so here's all the components for the side sauce in the pot. We're just gonna simmer this for a little bit. All right, and then somebody said we needed more butter, our own butter. So.
Oh, I knew you were gonna do it.
Of course, my sister-in-law, Dawn, made these awesome muffins.
Yeah.
What good are homemade muffins without homemade butter? That's right.
True, actually.
So,
Good point.
have cream, will churn. How about that, Dawn? Stick of butter.
Holy shit! Cool.
Yeah! Let's see what this Christmas brisket looks like.
There, look at this. Babe, turn around
Oh,
and
yeah.
look at this.
It's warm. It's still
Oh
freaking-
my, he's got it wrapped.
It's still hot.
Oh my.
A little bit of bark. There's the old probe. It's like butter. I'm not a pit boss. I'm not a pit master. If anything, I'm just a sucker MC.
That's for Noel.
All
There's
right,
two
as
in
you
there?
can see,
Okay.
the family's all around.
Woohoo!
This bad boy was done about 2 o'clock. It's been resting for a couple hours. It's gonna be perfect. What you wanna do with a brisket is cut it about in half because you got grain running 2 different directions. You got the flat where the grain's running this direction, and you got the point with the grain running the opposite direction. So we're gonna take this and slice it right down the center. Again, nothing like a good sharp
Ooh,
knife.
Damn, that looks good.
And you take your point and you want to turn it 90 degrees. You're going to take this is your flat with the grain running this way, and we're just going to take it, we're going to cut it.
Oh wow, that looks great. I'm watching this grain.
Yes.
It goes different ways. There must be a physiologic reason for that.
Well, it's the pectoral muscle.
Yes, and it goes in several different ways.
pecs, hun.
Thanks, babe.
Oh, don't watch out.
All right.
Can I be a ham? Yes. You can be a ham too if you want.
The meat has a way of doing it. Trust me, stick with me. I'll put meat in your mouth.
Oh my god.
Right now, I'll get it out there for the family, but I just wanted to show you this.
Wow.
Okay, so not sure if it's going to be good. We're gonna try.
But we're all here. Except a couple of us. You know both of us. This is really good tonight.
Yeah.
Meat is so tender you can cut. You don't even need a knife to cut it.
So that Christmas brisket turned out to be pretty good. Actually, turned out a lot better than I thought it did. And even though the brisket was really good, it doesn't compare to what I got going on behind me.
Best Christmas ever!
16 hours, 17 hours.
Yeah, they're gone.
17 hours?
Son, I'm filming over here.
I'm like starring and you're interrupting. Let's retry that.
Ooh, this is yummy. She misses her cue every time. Mom, what did you do?
This was staged, by the way.